Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This week I've been making boxes for cards ready for my craft fair, but they could be used for gifts for teachers, for neighbours, just one of those little things that you have in the store cupboard just in case you find out it's somebody's birthday and you've totally forgotten. So this is actually a box that I made last year. I didn't use it as my craft fair item last year though, I used them for gifts. So the paper is not current. I will be making it with current paper today, but I just want to show you how it works. And it's almost like, it looks like a book, sort of a book box. And you undo the ribbon. And inside, let me just take these out. Inside, it's a nice sturdy box with a chipboard cover, and I find that it just fits 4 or 5 really nice cards. Pop them in, tie it up, and it's a really cute little gift. So I would like to show you how to make this. It's a little bit, it's not complicated, it's one of those things that just takes a little bit of time. When I was first learning how to make them, I sort of would make a little bit of it, go back, see if I could change it, see if I needed a different measurement or anything. But my box is for North American size cards and their envelopes. If you're in the UK, it might not quite fit because it is quite a tight fit in there so that the cards don't all wobble about. But, you may need to change some sizings if you are not in North America. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to make it with today. I'm going to use this beautiful pressed petals paper. Now, sometimes with Stampin' Up, you'll get 12 sheets of DSP in a pack. And I know now that if it's 12 sheets, it's a thick paper. This one has 24 in, which means you get more of each design, but it's a little bit thinner paper. It's still beautiful paper and you can do everything with it, but it's a little tiny bit thinner. So just be a little bit careful when you use this one and when you're scoring, just in case you score hard and it makes a hole in the paper. This one I made with the speciality paper where you only get 12 sheets, so it was a little bit thicker. Okay, and I'm going to be using this sheet and then the one with the little script on, so this sheet. So I'm using 1 sheet of each. There will be some left over, and I use my leftovers to make the cards with, that I can either go in the box or that I have at the craft fair for sale. Okay, I'm just going to check that the camera's bright enough. Yeah, just that the sky suddenly is going a little bit dark, so I just wanted to check. Okay, so the first thing we're going to make on it is this little box that sits inside. And I've made it out of card, but I've reinforced the sides in it with chipboard as well. Now, if you don't have chipboard, and to be honest, I don't, I use these pieces of card that come in the packs of speciality papers or in the foil packs or in the laser cut paper packs from Stampin' Up. It's such a nice quality card that this is what I use. I don't buy chipboard. But if you buy chipboard and that's what you want to use, you go for it. Okay, so we're going to start with just a piece of 12 by 12 Whisper White. On this one, I did use a colour of the 12 by 12, but it was an old one and it's not current anymore either. But you need your piece of white cut at 8 3/4 by 10, and this is going to make that box base. Let me just get my trimmer, and we're going to trim every edge at 1 inch. So I'm just going to put it in my trimmer, and when I'm doing a 1 inch mark, I like to have the majority of the card on the left hand side so that it butts up against this little ridge here. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to 1, and I'm going to do the same on all 4 sides. I had already done one side, Okay, and now I want one at 2 inches as well. So now I have to use the left hand side. So I'm just going to line it up at 2 and go around. Now if you didn't have 12 by 12 card, you could make it with the 8.5 by 11 card, and you could alter the sizing slightly, or you could miss off the second score mark that I'm going to do. But I'll show you what happens with that score mark in a few moments. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit tricky to see just because I've chosen white, but on here you can see that in the corner you're going to have 4 little squares, and we're going to cut some of those. So we're going to cut down the score line with scissors, down the first score line up to the second mark, and that one we're going to chop off. Okay, and we're going to cut the next score line, and we're not going to chop this one off, we're just going to taper these edges. And you're going to do that on all 4 sides. So we're going to go up to the score line, up to the score line, chop the outside one off. This one we're going to taper, and that just helps you to get a nice flat finish on the corners of your box. Okay, same down here, up to the score line, up to the score line, chop the first one off and taper. Last one, up to the score line, up to the score line, chop this one off. Oh, can't see the little line, there we are. And then taper. Don't taper these ones, because we're going to need that to be a nice squared off finish. Let's get rid of those. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over and fold these lines over where I'd scored and just go over with my bone folder. Don't worry about these little flat pieces though. You don't need to do those ones. Now you can probably already tell that because I've got these 2 lines, when I fold my box and start to make it, I'm actually going to fold the top over so that it has, let me move that, so that it has a nicer edge. It's not the cut edge, it's a folded edge, and I just prefer that. Okay, now with your chipboard pieces, you're going to cut 2 pieces that are 3/4 of an inch by 5 3/4, and you're going to cut 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 3/4 of an inch. And we're just going to attach them. This is the inside. We're just going to attach them to that piece that's nearest the base of the card. And I'm just going to put 1 lot of fast fuse across. I'm only using fast fuse on this for speed. I normally use either a double-sided tape or wet glue. Okay, this is going to be the smaller one. Don't put the card right down at the edge where that score is, else you'll find it difficult to fold over. And again, don't put it right up near this one. I just pop it in the middle. Okay, and then you're going to do that all the way around, so your box will look like this. Okay, you'll have all 4 pieces on like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take one of the flaps, and either with wet glue or double-sided tape, but again I'm just using this fast fuse for speed, you're going to tape on there, and you're going to attach it onto the chipboard, and make sure that your little corners are lovely and flat. If you've got wet glue, just hold onto it for a couple of seconds so that you know it's really adhered well. Let's put a piece here actually and just show you. It'll only take another moment. Okay, so plop it in the middle, okay, and then we're going to use this piece here. We're going to glue this piece, fold it in so that you get a nice square corner. Made it difficult for myself now. Should have done it while it was flat, but never mind. Just do it this way, just because some of the box is already folded up. Okay. Okay. Take that little piece of paper off my finger. Okay. So again, at the side here, you're going to tape or glue, fold it onto there. So you will be left with a box looking like that, with these sides sticking up. What I do then is to put tear and tape down this inside edge right near to the edge. I'll show you on this one as well. Okay, so right near to the edge, and then we're going to take the tape edging off, fold it in. Once it's folded in and stuck, use your bone folder, smooth it all out. Now here's one that I've done 3 sides of. Okay, so these are already done. My last one, you see it has the tear and tape here. Fold it in. Oh, got that little piece of brown paper back again. I don't know where that keeps coming from. Okay, so fold it in, go across all of these with your bone folder. Make sure the edges are nice and flat. And there you have your inside box. Now, I've made these boxes lots of times, and a couple of times I haven't used them, or I haven't needed that size. And what I do, I actually have a couple on my desk. This is a little bit bigger, I think. Yeah, a little bit wider, look. Just 1/4 inch. And I keep bits and bobs in them, just that I think, oh, you know, I've cut all these out, I'm not using them, pop them in there and I might use them again. Or I keep them near me for filming, just in case. Okay, so here's our box. Now with the coloured box, I didn't do anything else with it, I just left it as it was. But with the white one, it looked a little bit blank. So what I did was I took some of the ribbon that matches with the pressed petals, and I put a little bit of tear and tape on the back, and I just went round the whole box, apart from that back edge, because we're going to glue that anyway, nobody's going to see it. I thought that just brightened it up a little bit. Okay, so that's the box made, that's the hard bit made. Next we're going to make that chipboard cover. Let me get rid of that one. It's a bit like Blue Peter here. I've got all these ones that I've half made. For those of you who are not from the UK or don't know Blue Peter, it used to be a children's programme when I was growing up, and the presenters would make things, and there was always one that was half made, so that they would get this one out and, oh, this is what it's going to look like next. So I just felt a bit like that. Okay, so now you need your DSP, and I'm using this side and this side. This is going to be my inside, this is going to be my outside, and this is my absolute favourite piece in that whole set of paper. And it started off as a 12 by 12, and I cut a 4 1/4 inch piece off. Now I could have cut less, but I wanted 4 1/4 because that would be just the right size to go on cards. And being a little bit thrifty, I thought if I cut it at 4 1/4, I know I've got some card fronts ready. So here's our paper. Next you're going to need chipboard again, or that card from the back of the DSPs, and you're going to cut 2 pieces at 6 1/4 by 5 and 1 piece at 6 1/4 by 1. And don't worry, I will put all these sizings on the blog, so you don't need to keep stopping and going back and writing anything down. So I've got 2 pieces 6 1/4 by 5 and 1 at 1 by 6 1/4. And what you do, I've just started to do this, is you put your pieces of card out and you sort of measure them up, just eyeball them. As long as you've got enough paper to go over the edges, you're going to be fine. So you put one of your 6 1/4 by 5s here, your narrow piece will become the spine, and you just leave about 1/8 of an inch there, just enough that when the card folds over, it's not catching on the spine or the other piece of card, but it will just freely move. So I've already put tear and tape on the back of here. I like tear and tape for this. I find that sometimes wet glue, it can be a bit more difficult because you might get a bubble of it or a lump of wet glue and you don't notice it till it dries, and then it doesn't look so good. Okay, so I'm just going to place this down and leave that 1/8 of an inch sort of gap. Just make sure it's straight. As I say, I'm not measuring it or anything, I'm just attaching it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to fold this paper over just to train it where we need it to go, and do that with all the edges. Okay, and then the same here, just fold it gently so that that paper gets used to bending the way you want it. Now where's that little tear that I made? Just here, look. And you won't see it because it's on the inside, but I am just going to put a little bit of tape over. So I was a bit rough with my bone folder there. Okay, I'm going to take that off. Okay. Now, where we folded those over, you will see a slight crease, and that's the guide that I use to mitre across here. Now there are lots of tutorials on how to mitre things. Some days it works perfect for me, some days it doesn't, and I never know, you know, which that day is going to be. But I'm just going to go across so that I'm not quite touching the chipboard. It's got a little tiny gap, just like that. Now sometimes when you do this, you'll find that the edges, doesn't matter how carefully you seem to cut, the edges don't always fold over how you want them to do, and you end up with a tiny little gap. Now we are covering the inside with a different paper as well, so you won't tell too much. I'm going to use my fast fuse. I'm just going to go right across. Yeah, so don't worry if you've got a little bit that's showing. I'm going to show you how you can rectify that. If you think it's not going to fit, this is how I used to show my children how to do this. Oops. When they had to cover books for school and things. Okay, so keep those little corners that you cut off. And let's see, let's start over here. I know that that's going to go over there. I'm just going to try. That one is going to fit beautifully, so that's fine. I'm not worried about that one. I'm going to stick that very corner down till I've checked with this one. Oh, that's actually going to fit beautifully as well. I'm just going to go over that with my bone folder. One of the other sides won't fit beautifully. I never get 4 that fit nicely. So let's just see. That there might be a tiny little gap there. Let's see. Oh, no, it's going to fit. Well, I'm going to show you on the other corner for what happens if it doesn't fit. Okay. If you start to put these together and you find you have a gap, say like that, what I found is if you use one of these corners, make sure you've got this side of the paper showing. Stick that over the corner. Put a little bit more glue on there. And then fold it over. And then you can't see the chipboard itself, and nobody will know if there's going to be a gap there or not. There wasn't actually a gap, but all you would see was the little piece of paper that's underneath. And I think that's just one of the easiest ways to mitre things and not to be thinking, oh no, now I've got a 1/4 of an inch gap here, it's not going to work. So just keep your corners until you've done the mitring and you've already glued it all down. Okay, so I'm going to fold these again. Let's fold that down, push that down a bit. I'm going to fold these again so that I know this paper here is going to be trained in as well. If the paper was a little bit thicker, I would score it. I would go down with my score tool, with my bone folder, and push hard on it. But because this is a thinner paper, I don't want to do that, just in case I get it bent. Okay. Let's do the same at this side. If you find you need more glue, you can always pop a little bit of wet glue under, but actually wet glue is great for this anyway. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got our book edge. Corners are nice. Yeah, the spine looks good. I think that's come out quite well, apart from that tiny little bit of paper that I've got there. I think it's actually a little bit of, oh it is, it's a little bit of the tear and tape cover. There. Okay, so next we're going to use the other piece of DSP that we chose, and this one is cut at, oh, let me think. I think it's 11 by 6 1/8. So it will just give a tiny border look. I don't want a big wide border all the way around it. So you can stick this on with liquid glue. Let's do that. Let's stick this one on with liquid glue because we've got time for this one to dry. Just leave that little 1/4 of an inch gap at the top so that you know, you can't see the glue as it's drying. And I find that our Tombow is quite strong enough for this. It does bond the fibres really well. Let's see which is the right way up. That's the right way up. So then I've got this scripty piece. If you're doing it with wet glue as well, you can move it just slightly. You've got a moment or two just to push it into the space that you want it to go in. There. Just going to go over that with my bone folder, and it's already looking lovely. Now, we're going to need to train this again. Some of it's not quite dry. Okay, so we're going to need to train this again. I'm going to do it with my bone folder. I'm just going to hold that there. I'm just going to find a little cloth. Where's my little cloth? Here we go. Sorry about that. I'm just going to go over just to make sure I can see that all the glue is flat. I don't want to push too hard on my bone folder. Okay. See, it's not quite dry, but that's okay. It will dry. If we can get the bendy bit to go onto the spine, that would be perfect. We're not going to see the spine. There. Okay. Now it does work, I promise you. Just that I haven't left it long enough to dry properly. Okay, so there we are. It's covered inside, covered outside, and it's ready for our box. Now I'm going to put the box so that this piece is attached to the spine, and I like it to go right up to the spine so that when the box is closed I have a nice little border, or sort of a lip or an edge over it. And I use tear tape on this side, and you can use wet glue on here if you want to, but I tend to use either my fast fuse or my tear tape. So I'm going to put the tear tape on here. And once you've made these boxes a couple of times and you know where all of the pieces go, it's so much easier. Excuse me, let me just get a little block to hold to tear that off. If you're doing this with wet glue, it means that you can manipulate it just a little bit more. You can move it around if you haven't got quite the right place. Now I know that everybody's really enjoying the craft season things that I've started to do, and a couple of people have asked me if I'll make certain things. Like somebody's asked me if I'll make something for snowman soup, you know, where you have the hot chocolate and the marshmallows and things. So if I'll make something like that. And another lady asked me if I would be able to make maybe like a paper purse or something that you could put items in. If you've got any other requests, no, just ask me, and if I can do it, I will. Okay, right, let's... In fact, I'm going to put fast fuse on here just because it'd be a bit faster than me taking all the things off the tear tape. Okay, right, I'm going to take these edges off, a little cover off. I'm sorry if you can hear that big banging noise. My husband's downstairs, not sure what he's doing. Something in a cupboard with a pan by the sound of it. I don't want to deter him though. If he's doing something with a pan and it's cooking tea or something, that's fine. So I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to dissuade him. Oh, can't get that edge off. Let's try this end. Okay, so remember I'm going to have it so that it's pushed up to this edge. I'm going to try and line it up before I actually stick it down too much. I know I don't want much. Just see how much space I've got. Oh, tiny, tiny. Sorry if all you could see then was the top of my head. Okay, and then I'm going to put this up and then squash this down right onto the spine of that book. Okay, and then close it down. Okay, and there you have it. See, it's a nice sturdy box now that we've got that extra chipboard in. And it's all attached. I am going to put a ribbon around it. I've got the matching ribbon from the Pressed Petals, and it's in Rococo Rose. And it's the one that I used around the edge here. I'm just going to leave enough to sort of tie a bow. Okay. And I am going to put something on the front as well. But I just want to get my bow in there first. Oops, it's a bit of a stiffer ribbon, this one. So I just have to be... Oh, I don't really like that. Let's try again. Oh, it gets softer. Actually, look, as I'm manipulating it, the ribbon's getting softer. It must have like a little bit of starch or something in it. Fold that through there so that I can see the front again. It's not the best ribbon I've tied in my life, but it'll work for now. Okay, let's just trim these edges off. Okay, and then at the top, I'm going to use some of the washi tape that's got the little petals on. And I've only used this a couple of times so far. Once I used it on a card where it could be flat, but I want this to be 3D. So I've cut myself a little 3/4 of an inch circle of card, and when you're using this, you look round to find where you can see a whole petal, and that's the one that you need to tear off. And I'm going to put, I'm going to put 5 round it. I found that 5 on the bottom and 3 on the top makes quite a nice little flower. So there's 2. You can make lots of flowers from this washi tape though. It's not only got like 5 or 6 flowers on there. I think you can make something like up to 20 flowers. And I know that will depend on how many pieces you use, but 20 would be nice. Okay, so there's my first one. I'm just going to leave it sticking there. My next part, the top part of it, I'm going to make on a dimensional. And I'm going to take the dimensional off, but I'm going to leave that little sticker over it. I'm going to turn it over so that I've got the sticky side. And I'm just going to put 3 on here. So there's 1. Oops, I've got 2 there. 2. And a 3rd one. Okay, now I don't want this to stick flat onto there, so the dimensional helps with that. But also what I found is if you turn it over and you use your embossing buddy and just go over it a few times, it takes that sticky off. See, it's not sticky there now. And because I hadn't taken that little cover off, it means that the sticky is still there. If you've taken that sticky that little cover off, then all your sticky is gone because the embossing buddy is over it. Okay, whoops. I'm just going to glue that into the middle. And then I'm going to put one of the little gold faceted gems on for the centre of the flower. Oh. There we go. That didn't want to come off. Stick that right in the middle. Okay. And then using my little leaf punch, I've cut out 3 or 4 little leaves in the mossy meadow. I think I had them in my little box. Yeah. So I've just cut these out. And what I did was I attached it to a stitched oval. So one of our stitched ovals in white. And can you see these start to peel up or to curl up, but they won't stick down because they've got that embossing buddy on. I just put 3 little leaves in, and then I'm going to put it over here. And what I also did was, using the rich razzleberry, I cut out one of the ovals, and the mossy meadow, I cut a larger oval. And I'm actually just going to attach all 3 together like that. And that's going to be on the top of our card box. Let's pop this one on. And when I was looking, I just found the ovals that nested nicely, that made sort of just a little bit of a scallop showing and then a little bit more of the green. Okay, and then you could put that up on dimensionals if you wanted to. I'm just going to glue mine down flat. Oh, I made that a bit difficult, didn't I? Because otherwise I would squash my flower. I'm going to put mine on dimensionals. Let's put a few around here. I do hope you'll give this a try. As I said earlier, once you've made one and you know how it fits, then it's fine. You know, you sort of get the hang of what needs to go next and where you need to put things. There. Just pop those leaves up a little bit. And there you have it. There's my second little card box that I will be using this year at craft fairs. People that I made them for birthday gifts and things last year, they really enjoyed using them and keeping them. And I know a couple of people had used the cards and they still keep the little box, which is, it's really nice when somebody keeps something that you've made. So then all you need to do is undo this, fill it with cards, or it would be really nice made in Christmas paper with gift tags and cards in as well. And then give it to your intended recipient. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm not tying that bow again. I hope you enjoyed that though, and that you will give it a go. If you like watching my videos, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe. It means a lot to me when you subscribe, and I know that people are enjoying what I make, and people are actually watching too. So thanks ever so much, everybody. I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye.